Joining us now for an in-depth look at developments in Syria, Sudan and the Arab League is William Lawrence. He's a Professor of Political Science and International Affairs at American University. William, great to have you on the show. Now, talk to us firstly about Iran-Saudi Arabia's fractured relationship and how re-establishing formal ties will impact the region.
Well, it's a positive development in many ways, in part because, as your setup piece covered but didn't fully cover, Iran reaches into the Middle East in 5 or 6 countries in very important ways, and Saudi Arabia reaches into even more. And there are conflicts and ceasefires and developments that are complex and in motion right now. And this new dialogue is incredibly important for the Middle East security, and that's why it was not opposed by the United States and was a long time coming after efforts by Pakistan, Oman, and Iraq began this process, but China closed the deal. I think for the most important short-term effects, if the Houthis and the Saudis can have a stable border without attacks either way, and if the Saudis start investing in Iran, these will be very important short-term developments.
As you mentioned, the agreement to restore diplomatic relations was brokered by China. Tell us more about what China can gain from these restored ties and why it was the country that was able to finalise things.
Well, on a very mundane level, only China could have done this deal for several reasons in the way that it did. In part because Iran doesn't talk to the United States and a lot of other countries. And so China, in Vienna, for example, where the U.S. negotiates through Iran, Iran refuses to talk to the United States, so it talks through proxies. So I think it's false to see this as a U.S. withdrawal. If you look at, for example, negotiations on Sudan, on Yemen, on Libya, on any number of conflicts, Iraq, the U.S. is deeply involved, but appreciates, without necessarily always saying it, when China can add its voice as well and be a positive contributor. But China has a strong and developing relationship with Iran. It hasn't borne as much fruit as the Iranians wanted, so this is another positive fruit of that new relationship, and takes Iran a little bit out of being cast internationally as being in the Russian orbit because of this new Iran-Chinese axis. And for me, I've also seen sort of a right-sizing of China's investments and engagements in Africa and the Middle East, whereas China has withdrawn a little bit from some places and ramped up its engagement in other places in a very logical way that works for China. And so this is, I think, a maturation of China's global role in which they can play a positive diplomatic role in this sense and can help security arrangements. But ultimately, China's investing and selling products, and this creates commercial corridors that help the region and help China.
Moving on to Sudan, representatives from the country, the warring armies there, have met in Saudi Arabia for their first face-to-face negotiations. We don't know a lot about what's to come or what has come out of meetings yet. The Arab League says it will form a committee to communicate with both sides. What hope is there that the two sides can actually find some kind of middle ground here?
I'm not optimistic for the extremely short term because both sides in Sudan are still speaking in exclusionary and apocalyptic terms about eliminating their enemies. But the fact that they're in Jeddah and talking primarily now about the humanitarian corridors and the humanitarian evacuations, a lot of which are coming in through Jeddah, where we've seen many thousands of refugees coming through and being processed and moved on. What's important here is that the dialogue is happening, and that the two sides in Sudan are taking all the phone calls from the international community, and ultimately you'll need international consensus to move the international peacemaking in Sudan forward. We have remarkable consensus at the UN, but we hadn't really had that Arab League consensus being formed as well. And ultimately, when you have these types of negotiations going on, you need all the international bodies working in unison: Arab League, African Union, these two other bodies, IGAD and the Trilateral Mechanism, and others, all sort of singing from the same choir book, while at the actual negotiation table right now, it's the Saudi Arabia and United States that are leading these negotiations.
And now the Arab League is also wanting to bring Syria back in the fold. Of course, you know, they cut ties early on in the conflict in Syria 12 years ago in the hope of reaching a political solution. Now they're trying to re-establish a relationship. But why now, given so many years have passed, 500,000 lives have been lost? Could attempted resolve been made earlier?
There were many attempts previously. There was a round of attempts to normalize with Syria in 2018, around the time that the U.S. was reducing its presence in Syria and other things were happening. But I think what triggered this latest round was the earthquake in Syria and the attempt to get aid in that ran up against the obstacles of bad bilateral relationships with the Syrian government. The position of the United States, which I agree with, is that the Arabs shouldn't get something for nothing, meaning they shouldn't normalize without seeing some concessions from Syria vis-a-vis its opposition. You know, they talk, for example, the Egyptian foreign minister talks about repatriating all these Syrians, but over half of them don't want to return to a Syria run by Assad. We have 3 de facto governments in Syria that aren't under his control, one in the northeast, 2 in the northwest, one backed by Turkey, with millions of people living in them that still aren't part of the sovereign Syrian government. So, you know, all of this needs to be worked out, and to normalize first and work on these things later, that's okay. But the position of the U.S. is, you know, as you normalize, try to get more concessions from Assad for a better national dialogue, a better peacemaking, better guarantees for dissident populations as Syria's long civil war winds to a close.
William Lawrence, thank you. Political Science and International Affairs at American University.